They're freezing to death in the storm. The Drew family, as soon as they see a glimpse of sunlight, jumps into winter is coming mode and starts prepping. Drew's wife wraps something in a sealskin coat, steps out of the neighbor's igloo, and ducks into her own. She pulls a deerskin pouch out of the coat. Inside, fire-starting wicks made of moss, worth their weight in gold. Imagine, the whole family's warmth depends on that. There's also some seal fat. On a stone slab, their main fuel for the winter, nothing else to burn. Drew catches a chill out of nowhere, so his wife melts snow to make him cold water. Seal fat is so precious to them, you wouldn't dare use it for yourself unless you had to. But since there's no air circulation in the igloo, the temperature shoots up to 30 them, and they're like, wow, it's warm in here now. No time to sit around. Drew, while resting, starts making goggles out of deer tendon and bone. Why? Because the snow reflects the sun so harshly, you'd go blind without them. Next morning, Drew's back to normal, even feeling, ugh, it's hot in here, walking around barefoot to help his wife. Then he's off with the tribe, straight onto the ice to hunt seals. They need to stock up before the real winter hits, but hunting seals on ice is a whole different beast. While wearing his goggles, he spots a polar bear in the distance. Bear meat sounds good, he thinks. But unarmed? No way he's messing with a full-grown bear. So, he lets it go. And keeps tracking seals. The saltwater's so salty, some spots haven't fully frozen. You could fall through the ice and never come back up. Anyway, after a lot of searching, he notices movement in a big crack. He thrusts his spear into the water with all his might. The seals hit, but just as he's pulling it out, the sly thing slips away. Drew looks at his spear, pissed and frustrated, thinking, damn, that's life? But he's not giving up. He'll get his meal one way or another. He climbs up some ice ridges, keeps looking, spots a shadow, and a rare grin creeps across his face. He crouches down, gets his gear ready, checks if his spear is sharp enough, wraps an extra layer of reindeer hide around his hands and feet for warmth, puts his goggles back on, and tracks. The seal again. Once he pinpoints its last spot, he sneaks up super quietly. Even his steps on the snow spook the seal. Luckily, he drops down and mimics another seal. It's autumn, mating season for seals, and Drew uses that to his advantage. He scrapes the ice with a bone knife, making female seal sounds. Seals operate on pure instinct, sense danger, and they dive into the water and disappear. But Drew nails the female seal movements perfectly. Dressed in sealskin, he inches closer, bit by bit. Lucky for him, this seal must be nearsighted. It falls for Drew's act. The big male seal responds, and Drew leans into the role even more. From a distance, you'd swear it's two seals sunbathing on the ice. Suddenly, Drew springs up, the seal panics, jumps for the ice hole, but it's not faster than Drew's spear. He carefully pulls the big seal onto the ice. The animal in pain tries to bite Drew, but Drew lands 3 solid punches, knocking it out. He ties a tendon rope through its nose and heads back to the village, victorious. Man, life's tough elsewhere, but these guys, they're straight up mastering the art of survival out here. Before heading back, Drew raises a hand and shouts to the hunters, "Sun's gone, we're done, time to rest, seal feast at my place soon." Everyone perks up like they just found free Wi-Fi. After all, hungry wives and kids are waiting at home, and nobody wants another night of empty stomachs. They grab their stuff and follow Drew back to the village. Ahua and little May had been waiting at the igloo door since dawn. When they see the seal, their faces light up with a "yes, finally" smile. That big, fat seal is a literal lifesaver. For the Inuit, they haul it into the igloo, and Drew's wife, Naira, gets to work on it like a pro butcher. The whole village gathers at Drew's place. Everyone's staring at the seal like they're about to pounce. Naira cuts the fattiest part and hands it to a boy, then scoops up the still warm blood and gives it to a girl to drink. After that, each family gets about 10 kilos of seal meat, enough for a few meals. An old woman, toothless and starving for days, lights up when she gets her share of seal meat. She's thrilled. But she doesn't eat it all. She saves some for her grandson. The little guy gnaws on a soft piece of cartilage like it's the best thing ever. While everyone's eating, Drew helps Naira clean up the bloodstains. Then he brings in his one and only sled dog, feeding it the leftover bones. It's his last dog, and he's hoping it'll have pups come spring. As night falls, everyone, bellies full, heads back to their own igloos. Drew finally sits down with his wife, digging into the seal meat. After eating, Naira blocks the entrance with a big stone so the wind doesn't carry the smell of blood inside. The family curls up in the warm igloo to rest. Night hits like a deep freezer. This is the Arctic, no joke. The temperature drops to 70 Davadiru. Drew wakes up shivering and nudges his wife. The fat lamp's gone out, and the igloo's freezing. Naira reluctantly crawls out from under her sealskin blanket and uses an ivory tool to relight the fire. The flame's weak, but with no air circulation in the igloo, the temperature quickly climbs to 30 dir, and it feels warm again. Their son, feeling the heat, pushes his blanket off his face. At the first light of morning, the Inuit in the igloo are up early. They don't wrap newborns in animal hides. They want them to get used to the cold. The kids who survive grow up tough as nails, unbothered by cold or heat. Those who don't make it are long gone. In this land of scarcity, hunger is the real. Fear for the Inuit. Ahwa's son is gnawing on a bone to stave off hunger. Her husband got paralyzed in a polar bear hunt, lost his ability to provide. The family survives on Drew's support. Ahwa softens the fishbone in her mouth and gives it to her son so he can suck out the remaining seal fat. The other hunters are off with Drew, chasing seals. Only the women and children are left in the village. Today, the weather's gorgeous, bright, and sunny. The women lay out sealskins to dry in the sun. The village's prettiest girl, Little May, straps her baby to her back and climbs onto the igloo roof. She slips and falls but doesn't give up, climbing back up to fix the roof. The storm had damaged it, and she needs to repair it to avoid freezing at night. With a big knife, she cuts snow blocks and patches it up. She's a mom at 15, but still has a childlike spirit. She plays with the kids, tossing around a deerskin sack filled with snow. This is probably the happiest time for Inuit kids, because at 14 they're married off to hunters. No carefree life after that. The tribe needs to keep going, so sometimes they're forced into things they don't want. Ahwa watches the kids play, carefree, but she's worried sick. She's hoping Drew brings back a big seal so her family doesn't starve, but her son on her back can't take the hunger anymore. Ahwa goes to Drew's wife for food, but Naira isn't keen on sharing. The village's salmon stock is already low, and Ahwa's husband can't hunt. Her family of 3 is basically a burden to the tribe. The kid starts crying from hunger, and Ahwa, with no other choice, wraps him in a sealskin to lull him to sleep. That's all she can do. Naira's got her own struggles. As the leader's wife, she has to think of the whole tribe. If the hunters don't bring back seals, the salmon stock is their last resort. But Naira's got a heart. She can't stand it. She puts down her sewing, calls the elders and kids over, and hands out half a salmon to each. That's their food for the day until the hunters return. No one asks for more. The women, starving for days, devour the fish the second they get it. That's what survival looks like. The seals were gone. Not a single one left around. Drew had no choice but to gather the tribe and move to the winter camp. Those who were hungry started eating snow to quench their thirst. Drew's gut told him a storm was coming. He's experienced, after all. The journey's long. The kids are exhausted. To escape the storm, Drew decides to build a snow shelter. As the leader, everyone's safety is on him. He checks the snow. First, too hard and it's tough to dig. Too soft and it'll collapse. Eventually, he finds the right spot. Building the snow shelter is a group effort. If everyone doesn't pitch in, the elders and kids will freeze to death overnight. That's serious. The men cut even snow blocks and build walls, while the women, with kids on their backs, fill in the gaps with snow. Drew even thinks about sanitation, digging a small pit next to the sleeping area for a toilet. Inuit life is simple. When the pit's full, they just cover it with snow. Time's tight, so Drew's wife uses a polar bear hide to cover the roof, blocking the wind. That's all they can manage. In the Arctic, hunger haunts everyone. Not just the Inuit, but the polar bears too. By night, the snow shelter's done, but it's still freezing inside. Each family burns seal fat to warm up. With no air circulation, the temperature shoots up to 30 degree darts. Warm? Well, relatively. Everyone's faces are still grim. Drew can't sleep. He sits up, sharpening arrowheads, determined to hunt a big seal tomorrow to pull the tribe through. The next day, he takes his 2 sled dogs and heads out to hunt. Waiting on the ice for a seal to pop up is a test of patience. Back home, his wife quietly processes seal fat, praying Drew catches a big one to save the tribe. Her prayers must have worked. Drew, waiting patiently, finally spots a massive seal. He catches it and hauls it back to the village. The tribe runs out to greet him. Drew's beaming with pride, showing off his catch to everyone. It's not easy being the guy who saves the tribe. It feels good, and it solidifies his place in. the group. That night, everyone gathers at Drew's place for a feast. Afterward, the women start sewing. Inuit girls learn to make clothes from animal hides at a young age. It's a must if they want to marry a good hunter later. But the frozen hides are tough, so they soften them by chewing with their teeth. By the time they're 40, most of their teeth are gone. It's a sad reality. The endless winter finally gives way to a brief spring. As the ice melts, wildlife starts showing up, but food is still scarce. Anything that moves on land or swims in the water is fair game for the Inuit. In spring, sweet grasses make it easier to start fires. They use bird feathers as kindling and cook warm meals. Hot food is a luxury for them. Naira dries last year's sealskins in the sun and makes her son waterproof, warm boots. He can now play in icy water without a problem, happy as can be. But as it warms up, the seals retreat to deeper waters, making them nearly impossible to hunt. Drew figures he needs a small boat to hunt at sea. The wood for it usually drifts in with the currents, and Drew's been collecting it for times like this. He can't build it alone, though, so he calls in the tribe's best carpenter. Naira, hearing another man's coming over, immediately gets ready, puts a phoenix feather in her shiny black hair. Her son notices the change and drags Drew over to see. Drew just smiles lightly and gets back to work on the boat. With the carpenter's help, the boat takes shape quickly. At mealtime, hospitality kicks in. They've got dried salmon at home. But Drew wants to treat the carpenter, so he goes to catch fresh salmon. Lucky shot, he spears a fish over 10 kilos. I still don't get why he pulls the fish up with sealskin ropes instead of the spear itself. He catches a few more fat ones and heads back to the village. Naira processes the fish, cuts a piece, pops it in her mouth, then hands some to the carpenter. Everyone takes a piece and eats happily. No salt, but for the Inuit, this is the best meal ever. Life in the Arctic just keeps going like this. Easy? Nope. But somehow, they all survive, holding on to each other. That evening, Drew went all out. For the tribe's sake, he built a snow shelter and invited the carpenter to stay the night, saying, "Come on, stay over. The night's long." In the Arctic, spring is over in the blink of an eye. Before you know it, summer's here. Of course, summer means no more game to hunt, and the area becomes unlivable. Drew announced, "All right, let's pack up and head to Kaplan River." The river water is bone-chillingly cold, but Drew, though he's called a wild man, has a soft side. He hoisted his wife onto his back, saying, "Let's get you across." From a distance, Kaplan spotted Drew's family and ran over, overjoyed. The kid, Drew's actual son, calls Kaplan Dad too. Why? Because Kaplan's sealskin jacket hasn't been washed in 2.5 years, and he's got a swarm of flies buzzing around him, but that doesn't stop his enthusiasm. He quickly helped Drew set up a new snow shelter in no time. Once settled, Drew went to the river to fish. Summer's here, the salmon are plump, swimming into shallow waters. To spawn, a once-in-a-thousand-years opportunity. Drew and Kaplan jumped into the icy water, unbothered by the cold, focused only on the fish. Drew lifted huge stones. He's old, but still strong as Hulk, I swear. They built a perfect fishing trap with the stones. Now it was just a matter of waiting for the fish to swim in. The river soaked Drew's sealskin jacket, so he wrung it out and went to the igloo to rest. But it's not just the Inuit. The fish also caught the eye of a pack of weasels. The weasels were eating rotten salmon when they got spooked and darted into the rock crevices. Drew turned to his son and said, "Listen, in the Arctic, you can eat any animal, but never a weasel. They've got a spiritual side." The kid didn't fully get it, but memorized his dad's words. Meanwhile, the spawning fish were panicking, swimming everywhere. The Inuit on the shore were all smiles. Big. Harvest time. Everyone's in celebration mode. Men, women, kids. Everyone jumped into the water, spearing fish like crazy. The women were just as skilled as the men, no joke. They gathered tons of salmon. Salmon's nutritious, full of vitamins, keeping the tribe fed through winter. Drew's wife grabbed some lime from the ground and rubbed it on the salmon's eyes. It's a belief that this makes the fish forget who caught them, so they don't hold a grudge against humans. Then she took out the eyes and fed them to her son. Inuit believe it brings good luck. The fish they couldn't eat got buried under stones to keep polar bears and other animals away. Sometimes for a change, they'd cook the fish. But there's no stove. They'd start a fire the old school way, rubbing wood together. Drew's experienced hands got a fire going in no time. His wife fanned it with duck feathers, added dry moss, and the flames roared. The smell of grilled salmon had everyone's mouths watering. The kid was in heaven. It was the first hot meal they'd had since winter. Everyone ate like there was no tomorrow, but happiness doesn't linger long in the Arctic. Winter's coming again. Drew's family moved to the winter camp. No more fresh food. Drew took his sled dogs and headed to the food stash from autumn. The dogs were starving, barely moving through the thick snow. A field mouse poked its head out of its burrow, and the dogs, with their sharp noses, caught the scent immediately. Drew wasn't about to let that opportunity slip. The mouse darted back into its hole, but mice aren't exactly geniuses. Drew mimicked a mother mouse's call, tricking it into poking its head out again. When Drew got close, the mouse realized it was facing a giant two-legged creature and bolted, but too late. Drew set a simple trap, widened the burrow entrance, and placed a rope loop. After a bit of waiting, the mouse got caught. It struggled, but the more it fought, the tighter the rope got, until it went limp under Drew's big foot. Nice surprise. Not only a small meal, but also enough fur to make his son a pair of mouse skin mittens. With the dog's help, they reached the food stash. Drew cut through the thick ice layer with his knife and pulled out the salmon. This would feed them for the months ahead. The dogs were starving, so Drew tossed them a small fish. They devoured it in seconds. Inuit never overfeed their dogs. Otherwise, they get lazy and disobedient. After gathering the salmon, Drew happily headed back to the village. Meanwhile, his wife was at a place called the Golden Snow Monument, collecting moss. That moss is super useful. It adds flavor to salmon dishes and works as a medicinal herb. They even use a bit of it after using the bathroom, believe it or not. Anyway, she started a fire with wood, then tossed a handful of moss into the flames, making them flare up. The room warmed up fast. She poured some bloody water into a stone trough to make salmon soup. She chopped the fish into small pieces, added it to the trough with some moss and salty moss on top. No salt, but don't worry, the flavor would still be strong. Soon the soup was simmering, steam rising. Her daughter eagerly grabbed a piece but spat it out. It was too hot. Inside the sealed igloo, the temperature hit 30 degrees, a big jump. Drew, feeling the heat, threw off his blanket and kept eating. His wife gently told their daughter, "Slow down, no rush." Classic mom move. After eating, the girl's head started itching. She had lice. No surprise there. Inuit don't bathe for 2.5 years, so lice are basically a given. Mom laid her down, parted her hair, and started picking them out. Once clean, the girl bolted outside to play with her friends, overjoyed. The neighbor's kid was chewing on dried salmon skin, loving every bite. For Inuit kids, dried salmon is the ultimate snack. Better than cooked food, even. They're so used to eating raw meat. It's just their thing. Time flew by, and soon the Inuit were preparing for their spring festival. Out with the old, in with the new. No fireworks, but they built a new snow shelter to celebrate. Everyone was buzzing with excitement. Drew placed a huge transparent ice block on the roof to brighten the inside. The kids scratched their New Year wishes onto the ice. New Year, new clothes, right? Not here. In the Arctic, with scarcity everywhere, kids wear the same sealskin outfits for years without washing. The boy's jacket was so dirty it was shiny. His mom couldn't bear it. She made a new jacket, cleaned him up for the new year. Families burned their precious seal fat to heat the igloos. The naughtiest kid in the tribe, Tiao, tried to blow out the growing flames. Ahua scolded him right away, and Tiao slunk off to play with his friends. Inuit kids don't have homework or stress about failing college or unemployment. Their childhoods are pure and carefree. The girls have never seen the outside world. They're married off at 16 to keep the tribe going. The boys, tougher, are out there doing flips in 60 digs weather, never tiring. They're trained from a young age, growing up to be the tribe's best hunters, no question. The big festival? Of course, it was celebrated with a feast. Drew had hunted a fat seal, and Kaplan braved a blizzard to bring back salmon from the summer stash for the New Year feast. On his way back, he caught a fat mouse, an unexpected bonus. That made the day even better. In the igloo, Drew's wife was busy prepping the fresh seal, cutting the softest meat for the family to enjoy on this special day. Normally, they eat raw, but today they cooked a hot meal since there were elders and kids around. She chopped the meat finely and cooked it over the fire. At lunch, everyone gathered for the feast. For the food-scarce Inuit, this was the happiest day of the year. Drew, feeling generous, told his wife to boil more water. He wanted everyone to have plenty of warm drinks. After eating, the Inuit started their New Year celebration. They played drums, sang, and wished for a fruitful summer, and lots of seals in winter. The festival's first game was ear tendon pulling. Yep, tie a rope to each person's ear, pull in opposite directions. Whoever's rope breaks first loses. Next was pain endurance. 2 people put their hands in each other's mouths and squeeze hard. Whoever can't handle the pain loses. Drew lost to Kaplan this time, and Kaplan was over the moon. It was his first win against Drew. Drew, eyes watering from the pain, tried to save face by doing a flip inside the igloo. He's nearly 50 but still has something to prove. The women had their own game. Looked familiar, but no one knows its name. Drew's wife led the group, joining in the fun. It's a rare moment of joy for the women, who usually spend their lives working and caring for the family in this tribe where their status is low. After the games, everyone gathered around the salmon again. Their lives are tough, but they're tight-knit. No scheming or drama. Maybe that's how they survived the brutal Arctic cold. Who knows? The laughter faded and silence set in. The Baapu Inuit New Year festival wrapped up with satisfaction and happiness as everyone dispersed. The fire from the seal fat slowly died out, and they all drifted into sleep, another world entirely. But tomorrow morning, it's back to the same grind. What'll we eat? Where'll we find it? That struggle never ends. The big festival? Of course, it was celebrated with a feast. Drew had hunted a fat seal, and Kaplan braved a blizzard to bring back salmon from the summer stash for the New Year feast. On his way back, he caught a fat mouse, an unexpected bonus. That made the day even better. In the igloo, Drew's wife was busy prepping the fresh seal, cutting the softest meat for the family to enjoy on this special day. Normally, they eat raw, but today they cooked a hot meal since there were elders and kids around. She chopped the meat finely and cooked it over the fire. At lunch, everyone gathered for the feast. For the food-scarce Inuit, this was the happiest day of the year. Drew, feeling generous, told his wife to boil more water. He wanted everyone to have plenty of warm drinks. After eating, the Inuit started their New Year celebration. They played drums, sang, and wished for a fruitful summer, and lots of seals in winter. The festival's first game was ear tendon pulling. Yep, tie a rope to each person's ear, pull in opposite directions. Whoever's rope breaks first loses. Next was pain endurance. 2 people put their hands in each other's mouths and squeeze hard. Whoever can't handle the pain loses. Drew lost to Kaplan this time, and Kaplan was over the moon. It was his first win against Drew. Drew, eyes watering from the pain, tried to save face by doing a flip inside the igloo. He's nearly 50 but still has something to prove. The women had their own game. Looked familiar, but no one knows its name. Drew's wife led the group, joining in the fun. It's a rare moment of joy for the women, who usually spend their lives working and caring for the family in this tribe where their status is low. After the games, everyone gathered around the salmon again. Their lives are tough, but they're tight-knit. No scheming or drama. Maybe that's how they survived the brutal Arctic cold. Who knows? The laughter faded and silence set in. The Bapu Inuit New Year Festival wrapped up with satisfaction and happiness as everyone dispersed. The fire from the seal fat slowly died out, and they all drifted into sleep, another world entirely. But tomorrow morning, it's back to the same grind.